Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Seaweed Brain, a Percy Jackson podcast. We actually lied to you last week. I lied to you last week. We are not going to be coming to you today with another episode diving back into the Red Pyramid. We will get back into it. It's coming. Don't worry. Instead today, however, we have a very special interview with the legendary Naomi Bakstad, head of the makeup department for the Percy Jackson TV show. We're going to have a great conversation. She's fabulous. Stick around.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. As always, my name is Erica, joined by my co-host Carter. What's up, Carter?
Hi.
We are a podcast that seeks to answer the question, is Percybeth the greatest love story ever told? Spoiler alert, the answer is yes. But we also like to do interviews, talk with all of the amazing people who bring to you the Percy Jackson and the Olympians TV show in every different facet. And we are so excited to finally have Naomi here today to talk to her about all the amazing work she does. Hi, Naomi.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm so glad to be here.
We were just saying it's been a minute since we've gotten to do one of these, but if our listeners will recall, we're going to start by asking Naomi everything about her life up until this exact moment in time. So where are you from? Where did you grow up?
So I live in Vancouver, Canada, and pretty much grew up there. I grew up when I was quite young in Maui, in Hawaii, but mostly I'm from Vancouver, and so my home is where we shoot the show. And I've worked there for many years and done lots of fun shows that have come up through the ranks and had experience with fantasy realms and real life. So for Percy, I designed the makeup and also the prosthetics. So I design all the makeup looks that are on the show, along with a huge team, of course, and a prosthetic shop that builds amazing pieces and works with me to design some of the creatures. So it's a real career highlight. It's a very special project, and I'm very, very proud to be part of it.
This is the part where we say, we have not discussed this prior to this moment, but Carter and I are also from Hawaii.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
My dad's whole family is specifically from Maui.
Oh, wow. My dad lived in Kula until a few years ago. So just up the hill. And
Sick. Yeah. My aunt has been in Kula also since her 20s or something. Yeah. We used to always do our family Christmases at her house in Kula.
Yeah. I love it.
Where it's cold.
Yeah. I know.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't been to Hawaii for a long time. I definitely miss it. Definitely.
The Kula Lavender Farm is, I think, my favorite place on earth. Oh. It's so beautiful. And you can see all the way down to the water. What age were you when you left?
I was young. I mean, I think I was about 8 when we came to Canada. But my dad lived in Maui until I think it's been maybe 7 or 8 years now. So he was he was there for a long time, and I would go visit often. So it was definitely a second home for a long time. And I feel like I haven't been there in forever. So this is making me a little bit nostalgic. Definitely want to get back there soon.
You have, I feel a job that is many children's dream jobs. A, to be working in Hollywood or Vancouver Wood, and B, to be doing makeup. What age were you when you started getting interested in such a thing?
Well, I think, it's funny because I used to be a real horror movie buff when I was a kid, and I would always watch tons of movies with my family, my mom and my grandparents. And I love TV too. I was just really interested in reading books and watching visual media. And when I started getting interested in being a makeup artist, I didn't understand exactly what that meant. So, there's so many different avenues of makeup that you can do. I mean, you can do weddings and you can do commercials, you can do fashion. And so I told my dad that I wanted to be a makeup artist, and he encouraged me to get some formal training and go to school. So I moved to LA, and I did all my schooling down in LA, where I went to a wonderful program that taught us kind of all across the board, a little bit of everything, including special effects and out-of-kit effects, meaning blood and dirt and facial hair and things like that. And I really got a feel for a very well-rounded universe and what I could tap into. And so I worked in LA for a while. I was down there just over a year, I guess 2 years by the end, and then came back to Vancouver. The industry was a bit early on when I came back. So I think it was not as difficult to get into as it is now. And I met some really great people that really helped me along my journey and sort of ushered me through. And I think I showed, some, hard work, some good work ethics, some skill, and, have a good laugh, and it gets you there, right? Eventually. So, it was a good journey. It's a hard job, and it's a very all encompassing position and job in itself. And it can be very challenging, but it also can be extremely rewarding.
Can I ask you what your favorite horror movies are from your childhood?
Oh, from my childhood, like The Thing and American Werewolf in London and Total Recall, RoboCop. I think like all of those movies kind of influenced me because they were so I felt they were so artistic at that moment. And, there was a lot of new technology being developed at that time. And I feel like I was sort of learning along with it, like seeing all this stuff being developed. I loved the making of the Thriller video by Michael Jackson, and just there was like a lot of sci-fi and a lot of really cool, fun styles, and different types of makeup. And I just loved it. Like I loved all of it, I love all the beauty makeups and all I don't know, there's just so much. I could go on and on. Exorcist, that was a good one. I mean, some of those things were a little bit before me, but and I was fairly young, but I think I saw them a bit later in my life, and they were so influential. So I just really always remember all of those as my kind of like basics that got me into wanting to do what I do.
I love that. On the flip side, are there like actors or like models who you always thought like, oh, this person is so gorgeous and they always look gorgeous, like as opposed to the other stuff like bloody and scary stuff?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, what was real influence for me when I was growing up was music videos. Like I feel like there was so many gorgeous, stylish music videos coming out. Like Wham had some amazing music videos, and George Michael and Duran Duran, and like Tears for Fears. And then it was like Soundgarden and all these like really great bands with really cool artistic styles and beautiful people, and fashion was crossing over with music videos. And so there was just so much influence everywhere. It was like the beginning of a digital media age in a different way. Now we're in such a different digital media age, but that was like, where all of a sudden you had a whole channel of music videos, and I was like obsessed. Like I would stay up till late, just like seeing all the fashion trends and all the beautiful colors, and it was a huge influence. There was all the big supermodels, Naomi Campbell and Christy Turlington and Cindy Crawford, and just like everywhere you looked, and even the beginning of like Swimsuit Illustrated becoming sort of fashion edged, where it was just like these huge influences of just beauty and skin and style, and I just loved all of it, and hair and everything. I was just like, I'm in, like whatever it's going to be, I'm in. I don't think I knew where my path would lead. I just kind of followed it, and then here I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's so brilliant. I love the idea of looking at the music video channel and being like, I don't want to be a singer and a pop star. I want to be creating that level of glam. I want to be involved in the glam and the sparkle.
Yeah. I mean, I love K-pop videos. I think that's like this new level of artistic influence right now. Like I just love the makeup and the hair and the style and the dancing. My two daughters are 13 and 10, and seeing what their interests are and what they're obsessed with right now kind of helps me understand what is kind of like hitting with people, what people are resonating towards for trends and things. And I feel like the K-pop world, because their videos they push the edge. It's artistic and fashion like to an extreme edge, and so it's fun. It's really fun and very influential. I just love it.
Are there any particular trends or like groups or things that really recently, I guess, on the other end of it, inspired you?
I love right now I'm designing a movie that I can't really tell you guys about, but I will next time we speak. I'm sure it'll all be out by then.
Teaser.
It's very fashion based, and I think right now I'm getting a lot of inspiration from. There's a documentary on Netflix like Cat's Eye. There's
yeah.
about the making of the K-pop group. Then I love Blackpink, and seeing all the girls from Blackpink have their own solo projects, and all of those videos coming out right now. So I'm like not stealing, but I'm like being influenced by all these like big ideas of like fashion lashes and colors, and I like colored contacts, and just the balance of color and symmetry, and monochromatic, like, so the trends right now I feel are like monochromatic, like very sort of neutrals and highlights and shading and face shapes, and shimmer and gloss pops and jewels and gems and all of that stuff. So my next project will have a lot of that in it.
You're just saying like the most magical words that exist. You're like gems, glitter, sparkle, shimmer. That's my job.
Yeah, exactly.
How many projects will you be working on at once? Like, do you sleep when these things are happening all at the same time?
Right? Well, interesting you should say that, because I'm not a great sleeper, and I often wake up at like 5, 6 in the morning, half asleep, and then all I can think about is like glimmer, like shimmer and eyelashes. And I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. I got to write that down.
Are you a notes app keeper, or do you have like a physical pen and paper?
Yeah, I love pen and paper, because I feel like when I write it down, I really remember it. And I love images, visual references to me are so influential. But I'm definitely a notes app and a picture taker for sure. I only do one project at a time. And so, season 1 of Percy was a very long shoot for us. We shot from June until February. And then this season was a bit shorter, so it gives us a little more time in between to fit other projects in. And I think last time I tried to talk to you guys, I was in Italy doing a project with Anna Kendrick. So that was 3 months, and then this project that I'm going to do will be 2 months. So some of the movies are smaller and shorter, and I can fit them in between. And so I always like to keep busy and be influenced by different avenues. Between season 1 and season 2 of Percy, I also did a horror movie called Never Let Go, which was completely different from so many other things that I'd done. So we were like deep in the woods. I designed a very highly detailed physical breakdown of these 2 young actors that we really told the story through the makeup. And so that was challenging. Each project has challenges in its own way that are very different, which is kind of what it's all about. It keeps you interested and engaged and constantly searching for those influences, and, to keep you on the cutting edge, you're using the newest products or old tried and true, things that work.
That's really good for our listeners to remember and to keep in mind that the length that Percy Jackson shoots is really long. Like they're on set for a long time. And I think season 2 was a little bit shorter than season 1.
Season 2 was a little bit shorter, yeah.
Yeah.
Except that every day was longer.
This is in large part because of the youth child acting laws and what is allowed and how many breaks they have to have and going to school and everything. And these are long, grueling days and long, grueling months that all of these people work on the show and keep positive attitudes. We have no idea how, but the morale is high during these long days.
Yes. We have a good group, we keep the morale high. Our actors really help, Walker and Leah and Arian are extremely positive, wonderful young people who are so devoted to the story and the characters, and just like they're all really kind humans and very appreciative of their environment and their opportunities. So they're very thankful. I mean, when I do Walker's makeup, he's like, thank you, give him a tic tac. Thank you so much. Thank you. Like, just like a very kind human. He always remembers everyone's name, and so when the actors set that tone, then the whole crew is positive. And like I said, Dan and John really set an incredible tone for the show. It's very, family focused. We know we're making a show for fans. We know we're making a show for families. And that's important in every decision that we make and the things that we bring to the screen. And I think that really comes through, which is very nice. Season 1 had, I think, the the levels of excitement and like the Minotaur sequence can be really scary. And it was even scary, I feel like, when we shot it. You know, we shot it in, I don't, we shot it in like 4 different segments and 4 different stages. So each set was like incredible. And I mean, the level of detail in the production design on our show is at such a high level. And our production designer, Dan Hanna, did, you know, Lord of the Rings. Oh, just Lord of the Rings, you know. And but you can tell, like, I've been on set so many times where I look around the set and I go, wow, you know, the attention to detail, the level of scale and epic. You know, we did no spoiler alerts, but there's a sequence in season 2 that, yeah, there's a few sequences in season 2 that are going to be amazing. But in season 1, we also had so many sequences that were incredible, like you know, when the Chimera attack on Walker, and our set was really high, and they built a big walkway so that we had that sort of arcing, you know, sense of space in the set. And when Walker was hanging, when Percy's hanging, fighting the Chimera, he was hanging 20 feet in the air on cables. And of course, he was having the time of his life. But I think he was like, ugh. So we really like go to they really take time to make all that stuff authentic. And I think that you really feel that when you watch the show.
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely, you feel it. You also worked on Percy Jackson, the movie.
Oh, I did. Yeah, years ago.
Was that trippy?
Yes. Yes. Well, it's interesting because, you know, they feel so different in my mind. But I do remember, like, I helped out on Percy Jackson, the movie, and the movies. I think there was 2. And when we shot them, I thought they were incredible at the time. You know, like, I remember the same sequences that we've shot in the TV series when we shot it in the movie, and being like, oh yeah, that's right. And it was this kind of a location, and just seeing like the differences with the TV show. And as much as, you know, they're extremely different, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
they were shot in such a different time of like Hollywood, for lack of a better word, you know, where all of the abilities of modernizing the visuals that we have now have really taken, I think, the level of the show up so many notches. But it's nice to kind of like, you know, think back and remember and be, you know, influenced in some way. Like, there's a scene in the movie for when Grover's caught in Polyphemus's cave, and the character in the movie has a little hat on with like an eye, this like little hat that he wears, and I thought that was like so cute. Like, I love that. I was like, oh, we should do something like that. That's so cute, because he's disguising himself. I just thought it was like such a fun. You know, it's so sort of basic and maybe looks a little dated when you see it, but at the time, I think it looked great, and I think it was really a cute idea.
Yeah, was it starting to get weird when you were like shooting scenes that you were like, we did this once,
Yeah, a little
long
bit.
ago in another timeline?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Wow. Do you ever, I mean, there's so many people on the Percy TV set who, because of the Vancouver industry, also worked on the movie. Do you guys ever like talk out loud about it and reminisce and be like,
Yeah,
that one
sometimes.
time, remember the hat?
Yeah.
With the eye on it? Yeah.
Well, it was funny because I said to one of the camera guys, we were shooting season 1, and we had a show shooting in Vancouver called Godzilla. It was a TV series, Godzilla the Monarch. I think it's on Apple TV. And I said to him, I go, good thing I'm not working on Godzilla, because I already have Godzilla on my resume, because I worked on the movie with Aaron Taylor Johnson. And he said, well, don't you also have Percy Jackson on your resume? And I said, oh yeah, actually, good point.
That's beautiful. The timeless tales that will never cease to be told are truly Godzilla and Percy Jackson.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't get
Every
it.
generation.
Every generation needs their own Godzilla and Percy Jackson.
Definitely.
Could you talk to us a little bit, I guess, about, relatedly, like when you were starting, like what types of considerations go into makeup design for specifically like the main trio and like the child actors? Because I think for a lot of people, honestly myself included, earlier in life, I would have said like, oh, like Percy looks like a regular kid is there makeup on him? Like that wouldn't have read to me, but I know that it's like a very complex process where you have all of these different considerations. And I was wondering if you could, I don't know, I guess give lay listeners a little bit of an understanding of like what types of makeup are going on to the like main child actors.
Normal makeup quotes. I'm doing heavy air quotes right now.
The biggest thing with Percy's makeup specifically is that because we shoot such a long season in Vancouver and it has so many different types of weather. So in Vancouver, we have extreme seasons. It gets very hot in the summer. It gets very cold and rainy in the winter. And we both, when we started shooting, it was the summer. So the cast always comes, especially Walker comes, and he's very tanned. And a big part of in season 1, he was tanned and freckled when we started. And then in the summer, I'd have to keep sunscreen on him so he didn't get too tanned and freckled. But also matching the levels of color and tone in his skin. And then when we get into the winter and we're still shooting and we're still picking up shots from things that we did in the summer, I have to add in that tan, add in those freckles, and maintain that sort of skin tone and that balance throughout the whole year. So we shot, I think our season was 10 months long, and it does get, it can get challenging. Like with people's skin tone can change 4 shades throughout the year. So that's the biggest sort of level of makeup with him specifically. Other than that, of course, he's a kid, so I don't want him to look like he has a lot of makeup on. So by adding all that color into his skin, I also have to really buff it in and really do it in layers so that it doesn't look like a lot of makeup on a young person. And the same with all the cast. It's about skin tone balance with our 3 leads, where people have a little bit of darkness or lightness, and it's creating that balance throughout their complexion. And again, maintaining that color throughout the year so that they look like the same person and they're not all of a sudden, pale. I told Walker this year, I was like, Disney should pay for us to go to Hawaii over the Christmas break so we can get our tan back.
Aulani Christmas break for the cast of Percy Jackson.
Yes.
What, like
please.
It's hard? Come on now.
That's such an amazing detail that you like add freckles back in.
Season 2, I think naturally, when the break, we had the strike and a few things happened in between season 1 and season 2. So it was actually a long time, like 2 years, I think, between seasons. And so everybody looks a lot different. Now I think they're a little more young adult, where they were a little more sort of young, older kids, season 1. And yeah, very freckly. That was one thing we always considered with young Percy, the skin tone, the eye color, the freckles, having to maintain that so that reads, the hair curl pattern and things like that, so that you instantly recognize that that's the same person. And then, with Aryan, Aryan has some different, tones of his skin. He also has a vein that runs down his face, and he loves it. Of course, we all love it. It's so fabulous, but it's interesting because it's very visible. And so that is part of Aryan's makeup that we always work on hiding his little vein, or at least softening it, because in some lighting situations, it really can read like a dark spot, where you see like a line, like it's like, does he have a line on his face or something? Like, what's going on there in the
That's a huge part of Luke's character, is having that scar running out his face. So you don't want to suggest that there's something similar between the two of them.
That's a very good point, actually. Yes, absolutely. Because I think with Luke too, I'm always trying to find that balance with Luke's scar. We really played a lot with Luke's scar when we first started, just to get the right height on his face and the right length and the right angle, the right coloration. We wanted it to read in all the different lighting situations the same. When we shot season 1, we used a volume stage, which the volume stage creates a background. It's like a green screen, but it's 3-dimensional, and it moves and shifts with the camera. So it creates this seamless 3-dimensional world. And but to me, as a makeup artist, it altered all the colors. So some parts of the volume screen are very green, and some parts of the volume screen are very sort of violet, depending, and it's all how the camera reads the environment. But as a makeup artist, it was changing the tones for us quite a bit. So lipstick would read more purple, skin tones would read more green, or too warm or not warm enough. So there was a little bit of a learning curve with that when we started. And because our cast, have 3 different skin tones, that always plays a part in the balance of having them together for a makeup point of view, where you want to create balance and symmetry within the 3 of them so that it feels like they're all in the same world and they all feel very balanced in the same world. And so sometimes that's just pulling little colors, pulling greens and yellows and violets in and out of the complexion so that everybody feels balanced in the world.
Oh, you have the coolest job. Greens and yellows and violets. Oh my. Would you ever, when you're watching something like when you're watching season 1 of the show that's like currently on Disney Plus, if you like log in and watch it, are you ever watching it and being like, wow, the color grading really changed the tone of that lipstick in this one scene?
Sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. I just watched the last two episodes of season 1 just recently, and I really loved those last 2 episodes. One of my favorite parts of season 1 was the Asphodelian forest. And when the kids go through the Asphodelian forest, and creating that for us artistically was quite challenging. And we had, it was in concept, it was like, 26 beings that are static in this shaded forest, and they're trapped, the lore that they are trapped, and they have roots that grow into the ground. So the idea of having these actors, 26 actors on pedestals that had to be attached, and costumes that wrapped around their bodies and the pedestals. And of course, they're humans, so we can't keep them up there all day. They have to be unwrapped, given time to relax. We also worried about them standing in that position for so long, would they lose their balance? And just there was so many logistic challenges with that sequence and how we would create it and how we would create the look. They were all sort of almost alien in a way. They had this ethereal quality because their souls had been tied to the earth, and they lived in this world of sort of sorrow and guilt, and how to sort of bring that look to life. And so when we created, the set and had numerous meetings about how we were going to bring this world to life, I did a test with my makeup department. So we did a test of an actor in prosthetics, so a bald head with no eyebrows and painted skin and carved out. And then we tested the same paint on a what's the right word? I would say a mannequin. So we tested the same skin tones and paint techniques on the mannequin to see if we could get them to look the same. And we did. So half of the people in that scene are mannequins and half are humans. And when the crew was on the set, nobody could tell who was what. Even I got caught off guard once. I went up to look at somebody, and then I realized, oh, that's a real person. I thought it was a mannequin.
Was that the spookiest, scariest day of shooting, would you say?
I think the Minotaur sequence was pretty scary. There was some moments we had a storm on. We had a set that it was so incredible. It was the car wreck, and the set was tilted, so it had a big field of green, and then the car was nestled into this swamp. And there was the electric wires over top were falling, and they were going off and flashing, and it was dark, and there was rain towers, and it was stormy, and it was incredible. And so Walker and Arian and Sally Jackson were in the car, and one of Arian's horns, because his horns are connected by magnets, one of his horns fell off. Now we were in the dark, in a swamp, in a car. We all had to wear gum boots up to our knees to get into the set up. And it was oh God, the horns. So meanwhile, the hairdressers are running back to the trailer to find the other set of horns so we can replace them. And Arian and Walker feeling around in the swamp to find the horn. And we found it. Arian was like, "It's here, I found it." It was this incredible
He's a good searcher.
We were yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's an incredible story, but also a great segue into I guess the other dimension of work on the show, which is like beyond making people look like convincing, consistent humans. There's all of the prosthetics. There was the figures in the underworld. There was like Mrs. Dodds, I'm assuming was like a really intense prosthetics job. And like
the nymphs
Mrs. Dodds was half prosthetics and half visual effects. So she had, her face was prosthetics, and then her head, some of the feathers were prosthetics, and then she had a green screen head, and her costume was all visual effects elements. I think she had her own collar. Oh no, the original Mrs. Dodds in season 1, no, she was all mocap. So she had a prosthetic face and everything else was visual effects. So it was, in season 1, we did a lot of the marriage of prosthetics and visual effects. The visual effects department on our show is incredible. They're so talented. And they really worked with the makeup department. We found that marriage of practical makeup that blends into a visual effect that works. Because I think that's how it works the best, when you have part of it that's real and then part of it that's fake.
Yeah.
Your eye believes the fantasy so much better. I think if it's all fake, I shouldn't say fake, that's rude. If it's all visual effects, then, you know, I just think when it's grounded and has that basis of reality, it works really, really well. So we did a lot of that in season 1, and it was extremely effective.
That sounds like a really like unique challenge, to be able to do that collaboration and to be able to have a sense for what things have to be adjusted, or I guess designed a certain way in order to make the integration with the visual effects seamless. Like, is this like something, I guess, that you've like worked on a lot before? Like, how did you like find the right balance for that?
I mean, with Percy, you know, we do a lot of prep and planning and meetings. The level of, you know, like I said, the level of detail that every department goes into creating the show is very, very high. And so we had meeting after meeting. You know, we had a few characters that were extremely important. I mean, the character Helena was a big one that we designed for months and months and months, because Helena was supposed to be, she was a dryad, so she was of the trees, and she was supposed to come out of the trees, the blend of costume, prosthetics, and visual effects, so that she looked like a tree and then became a human, or I mean a creature, was something that we all made mood boards and vision boards. We did Photoshops. We did all kinds of, they built the tree. We mimicked the costume and the prosthetic textures from the tree that was built by the art department. And then we based all the paints cohesively through the set, the costume, the prosthetics, the paint, so that everything blended. And then they took the tree out into the world. And then in the set, we took aspects of the moss and the lichen that grew on the trees, and we put that again into the prosthetics and into the costume, from the costume into the hair, into the prosthetics, so that everything was this seamless blend of this monochromatic. It was like a visual effect in itself that we had created, because it tricked your eye. Even in real life, as soon as she moved, everyone was like, oh, there she is. And when she was still in the wide shots, it was just like, that was such a magical day to watch Helena come to life in the forest. And we had planned her and worked every detail for so long. I think everybody was just like grinning that whole day. We were just so excited. So she was a real highlight for us for season 1.
If our listeners will remember, Helena, she's like Grover's mother figure, who he goes to speak to before he goes to talk to the Council of Cloven Elders. You really see her appear out of that tree, and they have a moment together, which was so great, because I think it also helped for us as viewers really build out Grover's world, which is not a world that we get to spend a ton of time in the books or the series. And so getting that like real specific visual story of where he comes from and what his world is like was added so much to the world.
Yeah, definitely. Grover's such a great character. Arian plays it so well. He's such a wonderful, you know, likable, loving person with so much energy, you know, and he brings all of that to his performance. And I think you just love the character, and you want to know more about him and his life and his world.
Yeah. One of my favorite makeup like things I was watching noticeably with my layman's brain on the makeup in season 1 was Walker being poisoned in the St. Louis Arch episode and starting to look more and more unwell as that episode is going on until they're splashing water on him in the fountain. What was it like creating that sunken eye and that paleness, but
It was
not too
great.
pale?
It was so fun. We, again, did lots of tests. And so, like I said, I often added a lot of tan and color into Walker's skin for his everyday look and his freckles. So to pull all that away was sort of the first step of that makeup, where I sort of went against the grain to make him look more pale, and then darkened his eyes. It was sort of this like progression, then paled out his lips, added sweat, added all the stages of the makeup. And then one of the, Jonah, who creates a lot of the prosthetics on the show and helped co-design some of the prosthetics with me, worked on WandaVision and did Vision's makeup. So Vision, he had this special sealer that he flew in from London that he had given me. And the sealer was really extremely stable, very waterproof. So Jonah had used this sealer on the Vision makeup, and it was like, it really helped him maintain it all day. So I started mixing that sealer in with Walker's base and got lighter and lighter, and just again worked in layers and layers of building up this sort of deathly pallor in him, and then sinking in his cheeks and sinking in his eyes, and subtly adding more and more and more. And the makeup was very stable and waterproof. So when he was in the fountain and they're splashing at him, which we had to do, I think, for 3 days, it really held. And so it really worked. I mean, that sequence really worked really well. And again, like I said, the set, the St. Louis Arch was really high up. We all had to climb up a bunch of ladders to get up to the top. And so it wasn't an easy set to get into. And to have a tricky makeup like that, and also him needing to be sweaty and, broken down and tear stained and everything, and his hands, his neck, everything. It was challenging. One of my assistants hid up on the set and would run in and like spray him down and put sweat on him for every take. So we were kind of like on top of that makeup. It was a definite like big look for us in season 1. And then because we have to blend skin underneath clothing, we do airbrush waterproof products all along the cast's neck and hands, anywhere that they would rub against the clothing, so that we're not jeopardizing the costumes, because the costumes on our show are very, they're all custom made. They're beautiful fabrics. They're all extremely valuable and need to be cared for properly. So I take the time to airbrush waterproof, stable products on all of the cast so that we don't jeopardize the costumes.
You hear that? It's prosthetics, it's glitter, it's glam, it's airbrushing people's hands. I want everyone to understand the scope of Naomi's job and all that it entails. I remember we were watching that St. Louis Arch episode together for the first time and being like, is he getting paler? Oh no. Like, are you guys seeing this too? Like, he's starting to clearly be unwell. And that was just, it worked so well.
Thank you.
So there was a little on Grover, a little on Percy. I have to ask a little bit about, this is throwing it back because it has been such a long time now since I watched the first season, but I was looking back at our notes, and I remember in that very last episode when the trio was meeting at the tree, and they're meeting at the edge of Camp Half-Blood, and they're about to go out into the world together. Annabeth comes out, and she's got like a little blush on, and she's got like some lip gloss on, and her hair's all pretty. Her hair's done like a little bit differently, and we were wondering about the conversations behind that look for Annabeth as she's going through this big moment of growth and change, going back to see her father, and what it means for her to have like a little bit more makeup on in that moment.
I think that was a big moment for all of us. The idea of Annabeth's look was always a big conversation, because she is young. She is, she's a child, but she's also this like really strong character who, you know, it's like, would she take the time to put on her makeup? You know, like, would she take the time to wear makeup? What kind of a person is she? Who is she in the world? And I think also the producers wanting to keep the character younger, the idea that she doesn't wear a lot of makeup was kind of an important part of her design. That she looks like that. The color in her cheek and the color in her lip is kind of like her own sort of like, you know, when she's getting excited, there's like a little more color in her cheek because she's like running through the world. It was the design of the makeup was sort of a little bit like that. Now, that scene that you're referring to when we are back at Talia's tree, which was a big set for us, Talia's tree, is the idea that they've gone through this big journey together and that she is becoming her own person and that she is growing and blossoming into the world, that she's a creature of, you know, a vision and beauty and wisdom. And it was her evolution as a character to now have a little bit of makeup on, a little bit of color in her face, that she's gone through something, she's grown up and she's coming into her own. So that was definitely intentional.
I'm gonna cry. That's so beautiful. I love the idea that she would be in a place in her life at that morning on that day where she wants to put on a little bit of makeup, where she has the time to put on a little bit of makeup, which is something that's not afforded to her in her life.
Yeah, definitely. They've been through this huge adventure and then they've come back home as, you know, heroes. And I think that everybody felt the resonation of that moment, you know?
We shouldn't ask about it, but this does make me really excited to, at some point, have a conversation about whatever is going to happen on Cersei's Island. But that's for another time.
For a later date. We are really, that was the tee up for us to be really excited to talk about the Cersei's Island makeover in 9 months from now. That's going to be the only thing the internet will be talking about. I can't wait to see Leah Beth trending on Twitter when the Cersei's Island makeover episode happens. It's going to break the internet.
Yes.
Very exciting. We are sort of nearing the end of our time, and we could ask you a million questions. But because we're us and you're here on Seaweed Brain, we have to ask you about a notable point in your career in which you worked on the TV show Once Upon a Time. And according to IMDb, you were Lana Parilla's makeup artist for a period of time. Carter and I would not be the people we are in our lives if it weren't for Regina, the evil queen, and her epic looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will you tell us literally anything about that?
Specifically, not just the character, but like every the aesthetic of Regina is like hugely like something that is like a foundational cornerstone of our like ideas about.
I know. I was very, very blessed to be Lana Parilla's personal makeup for a few seasons of that show. And we did Regina and then the Evil Queen. And all her different looks and costumes and you know, that was another project that I would go into the costume area when we'd go do fittings and like everything was incredible, like the fabrics and the shapes and like the furs and it was just incredible. And coming up with just those looks and ideas for her was just so fun. She was fun. She had such a beautiful face. She's got such strong features. And we really dialed in a really great thing for Regina and the Evil Queen. I liked both the looks kind of equal because they were so fun and the same and not the same, but they were just so fun. And we shot that show again in Vancouver. So again, we had to fight the elements of the cold and the rain. Once upon a time, we were often deep in the woods. And we did lots of fun looks like when she was young, young Regina and Tinkerbell. Actually, I did Tinkerbell's makeup as well.
Cool.
And I did Captain Hook's makeup sometimes. Like we just had a big
eyeliner.
Wow.
Yep. We call it guyliner. Guyliner.
The guyliner.
And Prince Charming, I mean, they were again a fantastic cast and super, super fun. And those were such iconic, wonderful looks. And yeah, we were nominated for an Emmy, Primetime Emmy for the episode called The Evil Queen, where Lana had, I think, 4 different looks for her character that I did with her. And and it was incredible. Like really, really wonderful, wonderful time. Wonderful show.
I know that was forever. It seems like lifetimes ago that show was on air, but do you have a favorite Regina or Evil Queen look?
Well, we did the Evil Queen in the forest coming out of her
carriage.
That was one of my favorite looks with her. And then when she first meets Tinkerbell, I think that was one of my favorite looks with her.
Are you looking it up right now, Carter?
I am.
Fun fact that nobody ever needs to know is that, but some Seaweed Brain listeners will know, is that we ran a Once Upon a Time podcast for a brief period of time with some of our friends as well. And we would spend most of every episode of that podcast just talking about whatever Regina was wearing during that episode. So it is very special to have you here now on Seaweed Brain.
I remember I did I could probably find the picture if I look, but I did it was like an article for Makeup Artist Magazine where I broke down the makeup of the Evil Queen, and so it was one of the pictures that we had from our publicity shoot that was like one of my favorites, and she was all in her garb with her neutral. A lot of the times Evil Queen had a red lip, but for this this publicity shoot we did like a neutral lip and a neutral eye, but still all that drama and beauty in the look, and it was beautiful. That's one of my favorite makeups of all time, I would say.
Oh, us too. Thank you for creating so many things that are so important to our lives.
I know. There are so many credits that you have. I mean, you've just done so much work. We were scrolling through it, and there are so many things that we would also love to ask you about outside of Seaweed Brain that are just incredible. You're working with some really, really cool people on some impactful projects.
Yeah, we were like, how do we shove Always Be My Maybe into this podcast episode somehow? Because we love that movie so much.
I know. That's literally one of my favorites. We had so much fun shooting that show. And it was Ali Wong's first movie. And it was really fun. It was fun off screen and on screen. We were in San Francisco. We shot in San Francisco for we were there for 3 or 4 weeks, I think. And Ali grew up in San Francisco, so she, loved it. And Keanu Reeves was there. I did Keanu Reeves' makeup. He played himself. He was so fun. I mean, just genius.
Seaweed Brain, 1 degree of separation from Keanu Reeves, everyone. We've made it.
It was great. That was one of my all-time favorite projects, I have to say. So, so, so fun.
Wow, I love hearing that. Because we also do love Ali Wong. Foundationally, she means everything to us. And Keanu Reeves, frankly.
Randall was just
Randall Park.
Yeah.
So lovely. Such a lovely guy. And we did all those great looks, like when they were young, and I had braces made for her. And then he was like, we had all these levels of his facial hair, and sometimes I'd have to add it on with special machines so that we could make it match. And that was such a fun movie. Such a fun movie.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, we'll throw some final wrap-up-y questions at you before we lose our time today. We know that on a show like this, you're creating so many looks and you're keeping track of so many different things, and like from all of the nymphs to the Asphodelian forest ghosts and all of these things. Was there anything that you designed or made that didn't really make it into the show, or that wasn't as prominently featured as we would have maybe noticed, that you want to tell us about?
Well, we did a big sequence with our Elder Satyr Council that didn't make it into the show. And that was a lot of work. We had 3 elders with big horns and big legs and huge prosthetic makeups, beards and facial hair. And then in the room there was satyrs with different levels of horn design and length. We talked a lot about how old the satyrs are depends how long their horns are. And it was creating that lore. So the elders had big curly horns like rams. And then the mid-grade satyrs had shorter horns. And then, of course, Grover's horns are, he's a young satyr in the world. So there was all of that sort of level of design that went into those makeups. Helena was in that scene. She was surrounded by nymphs, and the nymphs were a big makeup for us, just altering the skin tone, creating all these levels of iridescence. And again, they were airbrushed. They had veining and leaves and beautiful nails. They wore contacts. So they had a very ethereal quality to them. And then, the scene got cut from the show. And it was like, what?
Oh, we have heard about it from like everyone, though. I feel like everyone has like been able to mention it and keep the legacy of the scene alive. Maybe one day we'll see
like
uncut.
a special cut with like
Yeah.
a special cut with the scene in it.
Yes, uncolor graded, like unedited, just the raw, so we can see everything one day.
Yeah,
in the blooper
I
reel or
designed that.
something.
I worked on the designs for that scene for a very long time, so it was a big deal. We tested all those looks numerous times, and and then it was almost like when I watched the first episode, I was like, "Wait a second, what? Is it not in there? Did I miss it? What happened?"
Oh no! I can imagine what that feels like. But thank you for keeping the memory of it alive for us.
Yes, definitely. I'm sure I have pictures. I have pictures somewhere of it.
Yeah, I think I've seen some of them on your. If you guys don't follow Naomi Bakstad Makeup, you got to go follow her because she's sharing all the cool stuff with all the detailed close up photos from all of these looks. Okay, favorite look or character design from season 1.
Well, I definitely think Helena and Hades and Ares. Those are all some of my favorites.
And without angering the mouse, favorite thing you're looking forward to everyone seeing in season 2?
I think the Grey sisters are going to be great.
Yes.
Definitely
riding hard for the Grey
look
sisters.
forward to the Grey sisters.
That's so exciting. Okay, advice for anyone who is interested in a job in your field.
I think if you're interested in doing makeup, you definitely have to appreciate how we make film, meaning that it does take a long time. It takes a lot of hours out of your life. It takes a lot of energy and focus. And you have to have you have to sort of love it in the right ways. You have to be patient. You have to be a collaborator. You have to be a person who enjoys teamwork. All of that stuff really matters. And I do really love it. I love the energy in a makeup trailer. It's extremely special to me, with my team and with the cast. Like, I really do think that is something that that really matters to me. I think, I don't know. I mean, I really can't see myself doing anything else. It's really an important part of my life.
Yay! Everyone snaps applause for Naomi. She is currently getting ready for the Hair and Makeup Guild Awards, so we're excited to follow along with that. When this episode comes out, they probably will have just happened. So congratulations on all your incredible work on season 1. Congratulations on wrapping season 2. 9 long months of shooting. Everyone is so excited to see what's in store.
I'm excited for everyone to see season 2. I really am. We'll have to do a revisit of this interview and we can talk about everything.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Oh, we're so excited. Oof. Keep it in. Rein it in, Erica. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else you'd like to plug or tell people while you're here?
Well, I just appreciate that you guys keep like the energy for the show alive. It's really hard having so much time between seasons. I did just recently watch season 1 again, and it was so great. It warmed my heart to see it again. And I just appreciate that there's, the Seaweed Brain podcast, and there's all these, fans that really keep the excitement alive, because I think it's worth it. Season 2 is going to blow everybody away.
Yes, you heard it here. Keep rewatching, everybody. Keep the hype alive so that we get that season 3 green light sooner rather than later. Go follow Naomi. It's at Naomi Bakstad Makeup on Instagram. We'll have it linked in our show notes. And we will see you all next week for another very special interview with a brand new guest from Percy Jackson TV world. So stick around, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much, you guys.